the agenda slightly, just to recognize Mr. Chirko, who is retiring very soon. I think you said 11 days. Am I?
No, what?
Yeah. In the near future.
At the end of the month,
Soonish. So, does anyone want to have a quick acknowledgement, like a minute for Mr. Chirko? 1 minute, just like one.
Just teasing.
All right.
We're all going to say something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner McFadden.
Great, thank you. There's many things I can say. We haven't known each other that long. It's only been a few years. What I can say though is it is remarkable the amount of grace, humility, and passion you still have for your job, being in the same job for that many years. In an industry that is not an easy industry, to keep that same level of compassion and grace and passion. So thank you for leading so well when caring right till the end. It wasn't like you coasted to the end of your career. You could see you were all in. I want to leave this place better than what I found it. And that came across. So thank you for serving us well. We appreciate it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you probably don't remember this, but the first time I met you wasn't after I got elected, but when I was a delegation to the Rec Commission during COVID, so it was on the phone. So I didn't know what you looked like. You didn't know what I looked like. But I'm going to say it didn't go very well for me. So I may have had a preconceived notion about you based on how things went at that particular Rec Commission meeting. I have since completely changed my mind and really appreciate everything you do, the enthusiasm you do it with, the kindness you show. And I really wish you all the best in your retirement. So you have to remember, I retired right around the same time as you, but 9 years ago. So whatever you do, don't say, I think I'll run for public office. Just be retired, stay retired. That's my advice to you. But no, sincerely, I wish you a very happy, long, healthy retirement.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I wrote something down. Yeah. Joe's impact on recreation, community spaces, and people across the region will be felt for generations. His leadership, dedication, and genuine care for our community made everything better. Joe didn't just manage facilities. He helped build places where memories were made, friendships were formed, and community was very stronger. 30 plus years of service, countless projects, and endless patience. Joe leaves behind a legacy that speaks for itself. We're grateful for Joe's steady leadership, sense of humor, and unwavering commitment to making our region a great place to live, work, and play. And I'll miss you. I've known you for a long time.
Commissioner Davidoff.
Yeah.
That's really mouthful, sorry.
So that's okay. This is excellent cake. So we had a moment before the meeting started formally and presented Joe with some gifts. But how long have we worked together?
Since you, I know.
16. This is my 15th year.
Yeah, and you're kind of in our bridge as well. So.
And before that,
Yeah.
like probably through your whole career.
Yeah.
For sure. And I do not, Joe and I talked about this. Throughout everything we've gone through a lot. That Joe and I have never had any personal animus. So that speaks to who you are as a human being and as a leader. And that people probably won't believe, but you can attest that that is true. Never once is there any personal animus between Joe and I.
Yeah.
So thank you, Joe, for your service, exemplary service,
Thank you.
and enjoy your time.
Thank you.
Joe, I just want to thank you for all the help you gave me as chair. It's always been said there's no stupid questions, and you never, ever thought that I asked a stupid question. And I appreciate that. And like Commissioner David Updike said, that's just another sign of leadership. I appreciate that. And just appreciate all the work you've done for the years for the entire regional district, but especially for Castlegar. My only advice upon retirement is you're no longer in charge at home. Like if you ever thought you were, you're not.
No, I know that. It isn't.
Yeah, that can be a difficult transition. And the other thing with what Commissioner Hanegraaff said, don't make any big decisions in the next year. Just enjoy it, get used to it. And then it's time to run for public office. But Joe, thank you very much. And I think we speak in unity for we appreciate your efforts. So thank you very much.
Again, just like, I know over the years has been, we've gone through a lot of effort to try and make change. And I just want you to know that it's always appreciated through the highs and the lows of everything, whether it was the opening of Brilliant Bridge, which was definitely one of my highs in my career. And through all of the people that I've worked around this table, it has changed over time. And I really appreciated the challenges in that. And I just want to say, like, Castlegar and the facilities here played a role. Even though I grew up in Nelson being it, the facilities here played a role in my development. I played lots of games over in that building there, and as my staff team loves to remind me, is that my best goal I scored ever happened in the Pioneer. It has been like, that's the kind of thing that I tried to bring to was remembering those impacts of these spaces. And I just want to say, like, in particular, there's people that weren't here that were my mentors. Pat, Mitch. I was a young kid when I came here, and Pat was somebody that took care of me. And Jim Crockett was, for me, fundamentally, I wouldn't have survived the middle part of my career without Jim. And just wanna say that. So thank you.
And just to follow up, I got a couple of little paragraphs from some other past commissioners, Dan and Florios. Florios was quite funny. So yeah, read those notes from them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And it's always amazing how people's things intertwine, right?
Mhm.
It's always that's the special thing about being in the community.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, everybody. All right, adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
All right, all those in favor? Thank you. Receipt of the minutes.
So moved.
Right, all those in favor? Thank you. There are no delegates scheduled for this meeting. We'll move right into number 7, staff reports. Castlegar District Community Complex Facility update. I'm not sure if Vanessa, I can't see her name on there. Is Vanessa there, or are you giving us this one?
It was through the chair. First, do I have good sound check?
Yeah,
Yes, we can hear you.
great.
Good. How was the cake?
Huh?
The cake was awesome.
Would you like to see a picture of it?
No, it's fine. I wish I could be there. And I missed Andy again. Sorry. So I guess Vanessa is busy. She just got back from a family vacation, so she might be a little tired. So I'll just present this report on behalf of Vanessa, and I'll just speak to the points that she raised, certainly with over the last quarter of 2025. The Christmas events went well. The breakfast with Santa and the Santa skate were well attended. We hit our max ice limits for those events and others. We had a sponsor for public skates during the Christmas break. And Vanessa's pointing out that maybe due to limited instructors, we have a full classes in the fitness studio and in the pool. Staff are preparing to host the BC Winter Games short track speed skating events here at the end of the month. I believe the ice has been surveyed and the ice markings have been installed, so we're all ready for that. And I think there's a few logistical items to work out with them, but we've got that well in hand. Some of the facility challenges, repairs and maintenance, we did some light replacement in the offices. We installed some LEDs to make that more efficient. We did some paint in on the doors in the general lobby, hallway areas. We did have some issues with the chlorine pump. We had a single phase power outage, and I don't know the status of this. I'm sure that we've checked with Fortis on any claims, but I don't know if that was due to an issue that we had or an issue that they caused. But we have got that back into good operating shape. There is a concern with the mushroom spray feature. We're not sure if we can repair the pump, so we might have to replace that pump to keep that feature going, and some ancillary bench repairs, gate repairs at the arena. Project updates, the arena low E ceiling is on schedule. We've tendered that, closes February 24th. There will be a report to the commission at the March meeting. We'll make a recommendation to award that, promote that to the board for award for the March meeting. And the schedule for that is on track to have the dry floor unavailable for the majority of the dry floor season, but we have made allotment of time for the trade fair and grad. So that's all been considered and will be communicated to the contractor who is successful in getting that contract. Roof repairs. We do have the interior of the pool roof. That scope that needs to be done will be during the extended shutdown, which we've talked about a couple of times. And then the arena area scope is being tendered and will be brought forward to the commission and the board at a later date for award of that contract. And then the arena doors project has been going on for quite some time, and challenges with the final details on electrical for the overhead door and that kind of thing. So we are still anticipating having that done in the very near future. I was on a meeting with the project manager this afternoon, and there's just some minor details to work out before we can get those. The doors are ready to be installed. We just have to get through the electrical piece. And Vanessa points out still some staffing. With our seasonal and the occasional attrition of staffing, we've got some postings out there, and a comparison of the pool hours is shown. Again, with the Thursday mornings, we're still closed on Thursday mornings. We do anticipate that we're planning to have staff and leadership staff hired up until summer. So we are going to maintain the current schedule until at least summer, and then of course if we get into the extended shutdown, it may mean that opening on Thursday mornings would be later in the year than we anticipated. So that might be even part of the budget discussion. And that's the gist of Vanessa's report. I'll try to answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks very much, Greg. Does anyone have any questions?
So
Go ahead.
I guess it is a question, but I don't care. Currently, I guess, I don't know if it's just a January thing and it'll fall off once people move further away from their resolutions or not. But right now, the aquafit classes are to capacity. In fact, people are being turned away, and there's been some real confusion around, people being registered, but them being in the deep end, and the deep end doesn't count. And meanwhile, at the front desk, people are being turned away because the class is full, that kind of thing. And I'm just wondering if any consideration is being given to offering more aquafit class. The fact that you're actually capping at 25, having a full 25 in the shallow end. And then there's usually anywhere from, well, 1 or 2 to 8 or 10 in the deep end. So it seems to me that, and I know because, you know, I'm a pool person, it's the same people all the time, and people are pre-registering to ensure that they get a spot and all of that. It seems like the demand has outstripped what we're providing.
Yeah, through the chair, I'll take, a little bit off of the top of that one, and then maybe just, Tia or Tricia can update or talk about the stats and what we're doing for programming. But it is interesting in Creston when we had an unlimited, more or less unlimited number on Aquafit, and then we went to the 25 due to more of a customer service and an instructor safety concern about how many people you can actually monitor while they're in the pool. So we deliberately went to the limit of 25, and that has caused, and I've witnessed this in Creston, a bit of a crush or a rush at the front door or the front gate, and people that are being turned away. So we have that as part of our, one of the consequences of putting that limit. But as far as the people taking part in the deep end, and if those lanes are available, and it does seem to be, perception is that people are being turned away, yet some people are taking advantage of maybe a lenience on the pool deck. We can address that with operations staff and try to figure out how we do that regionally to be fair. But as it relates to the demand and the offerings, maybe I'll let Tia just respond to that one.
Through the chair, sorry. Yeah, so as far as the demand is concerned, we've done the evaluation for 2025 as to how some of our programs have done and some of the general admission that we've been doing. And so I'm going to be talking about that a little bit in the report today. But certainly, we have postings out for Aquafit instructors. So it may be that we have capacity to be able to add Aquafit classes, but we may not have the instructors to be able to teach those classes. So we have to definitely we'll take a look at what those numbers look like and see how they trend. And like you said, this may just be a January thing, but if we do start to see it continue, that may be something that we look to address.
If I can just suggest, because I'm going to say that the morning Aquafit classes work really well for people, for the most part, who are retired. But we used to also have evening Aquafit, which worked really well for people who were working. And I think sometimes they get missed in the equation. So I'd like to suggest that you consider doing some evening Aquafit, even just for a trial. See if you have have people taking advantage of that opportunity the way they did in the past.
Yeah, through the chair, we certainly can. We'll take a look at some of the historical data that existed when we did have an evening class and see what the viability is of being able to do that in 2026.
Interesting.
Yeah, just through the chair, I just wanted to say, Craig, that when we had Winter Wonderland, staff here worked really well with our civic works and that, so it worked out really well this year. So kudos to Massa and the staff here. I gave quite a heads up on notice this year, just so there was no issues. So anyway, that it worked out really well. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass that along.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that report? Right, we'll move on to 7.2, programming update from Tia.
The chair, thanks everybody. So this is a report that I've been doing in each of the different facilities, and starting out with the service delivery at a glance. And what Vanessa had highlighted in her report was, pre-registered program and just program participation in general is actually doing really, really well. However, general admission to the pool, to the arena, and facility rentals, namely room rentals, are seeing a little bit of a downward trend. And this isn't something that obviously is new. We've been reporting on this for a couple of quarters. So as we, I'll talk a little bit about some of the what's next in a little bit, but I'll just give you a little bit of an update as to how it's going in some of the program areas. We took in 808 children for swim lessons in 2025 with a class capacity of an average about 85%. That's really high. And not to mention, we offered more lessons this year than we did last year. So we're definitely seeing an increase in demand. And of those 808 children, 228 of them were brand new. They didn't take lessons with us in 2023 or 2024. And for a community this size, those are very, very strong numbers. And so that's a very successful stat to be really, really proud of. In fitness, we saw 914 registrants in our pre-registered classes, with 2,325 included with admission participants. There was less programs offered in 2024 by about 14%, but those were mostly the pre-reg programs. We managed to keep our included with admission schedule fairly static. And so we did see a little bit of an increase in participation into the included with admission because we weren't able to offer as many pre-registered programs. So participation still stayed strong, and participants shifted to where we were able to offer services. So that was really great to hear. In recreation, one thing to note is we all know our summer camps do really well in Castlegar, but our youth programs, so outside of camps, are starting to get a lot better as far as registrations. We had 338 children that took some of our programs throughout the year, and another 465 children were in our summer camps. We reintroduced programs like a youth safe at home programs. There's two programs. One's called Home Alone. One's called My Safe Life. It basically gives children an opportunity to learn how to be home alone, how to navigate life, maybe some internet, life on the internet with kids these days, and parents cannot get their kids in fast enough. We're reaching maximum levels with these programs, so we're offering them as much as we can, but we're seeing this all across the different communities. So we understand that this is a really popular program, and we offer them basically once a season. So we hope to see continued prescription to this with the community. Any questions before I move into the financials?
Not seeing anything.
Fantastic. Okay, so programming financials. There was an improved accuracy to our expense budgets in 2024. That was really, really nice to see. And the increase in swim lesson offerings was able, as I told you before, we were able to increase our offerings and maintain a similar rate of registration. So we are getting closer to meeting demand. There were still few on the wait list that we weren't able to accommodate, but we're getting better. As far as user fees are concerned, this is where things kind of aren't as positive as the rest of the report. There were 6,400 less visits in 2025 than in 2024. So if you looking on the report, there is that trend line. And the trend line, if you don't account for the spring batch expiration of 2024 of all of the 10 and 20 punch passes, it will actually bring the orange line back down to where the blue line is. And the trend line runs similar. And I would argue it runs similar in every facility. Usage in facilities tend to follow the same path of like high, lower, lower, and then really high in the fall. And Castlegar is no exception. So the only thing here is that the trends here were just a little lower than for 2024. And so we can talk a little bit about what that looks like after I talked about facility rentals, because our user groups are utilizing our pool and our arena spaces really, really well over the past year, doing a little bit more as far as revenue and hours. It's fantastic. Room rentals, on the other hand, took a 30% drop, which is like an overall 4.5 for the facility. So what's important here is what our next steps, what next steps we're doing towards this. So we need to sit down and talk a little bit about a strategy that needs to be developed, diving deeper in response to this decline, and for both admissions and facility rentals. We obviously can make some inferences about these numbers, like some of the new meeting spaces that have been built in Castlegar, as well as the fitness business that's opened in the spring, coincidentally with the drop in our numbers. So it's very easy to sort of make some assumptions here, but I'm sure there's more to it than that. And so we want to be able to look a little closer, maybe at some facility gaps. What type of bookings we took in 2025 versus 2024? What kind of differences do we see? Encouraging patron use of the building community relationships to encourage use. Any modifications we need to make in our programming, not just pre-registered or included with admission, but also some of those unstructured activities or features that could exist in the building that might draw more people to the facility, as well as targeted promotions to boost interest. And we will certainly keep you informed as this develops over the year to let you know sort of what path we're taking. Thank you.
Great. Anyone have any questions from that from Tia? Or Commissioner Peach, your speed up. Sorry.
I called it Brian.
Yeah.
I am worried about the user fee drop, because there was an increase in the user fee amount of money. So in correlation, it's, if we went with last year's fees to this year, I wonder how much that is actually less attendance than that to make up. But I'm just wondering about the rentals, the meeting rooms and that. Are you thinking about repurposing them into something else maybe? Is that something we can think about?
Well, through the chair, we haven't dived deep enough to have those types of conversations. But certainly, that we're not thinking about, how we bring more people to use the facility and renter spaces.
Yeah, because that's hi there.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It smells the cake.
Yeah. But maybe that's something, or we're gonna have like a strategic little meeting or something that we can talk about that, about repurposing that. Joe, you won't be here, so. I'm including Trish. I'm including Trish.
Sure.
Just, because it's just like valuable real estate that's not being used, right? And I just think there's other ways that we can generate some money, because, it's great that we were making it up at the pool and in the fitness classes and that, but we're losing other places, so.
Chair, I do.
Yes, go ahead.
So through the chair, the staff, in terms of the user fees, I know there's a lot more meetings happening at the Confluence. I know I've attended more meetings at the Confluence than I do not believe that I've attended one meeting here. And since the Confluence opened, every meeting has been at the Confluence. So I don't know, are we not competitive, or I don't know how to deal with that one. And that's a lot of revenue for us as well, but it's a lot of revenue for the Confluence. So I don't know how we deal with that with the chair.
Commissioner McFadden.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know if staff, there's not really a way to answer. I think Commissioner Davidoff, I agree. Except that you don't want to be in competition with other nonprofits that are doing it well. And the reality is much nicer space for the amount of people that you can fit in there. The challenge we come in with is that there is no space that's big enough for more than basically 100 people other than here in town. So that's the challenge you run into is that, but is that worth the amount of money? Because so nuanced to what you hear from the community, a lot of it has to do with the kitchen, can't use the kitchen, or they'll have a stocked kitchen, the dishes in the kitchen, all the things. Now I'm aware that spending that money in that infrastructure, you're gonna have to use it a lot to pay off the trade-off that you're gonna get for all those things. And is that worth it? Probably not. But then what do you use it for? I don't know, but I don't think there is a way to, without putting a whole lot of money, we're going to be in competition for that like 100-person mark. So then you've got that other mark, which is there's no place that's bigger for that many people, but is that really enough to put all that money into it? Probably not. So I agree with Commissioner Heaton that it probably is worth having a bigger conversation over strategically what we're thinking. Because I know the original thought too was maybe expand a fitness center or something. But now we don't want to be competing with local business. Like we're really providing a service for those who can't afford to go to a paid, private business. And is that worth it? I'm interested in seeing their fitness class numbers and wondering if maybe there's space there to expand and what that might look like. So I think it's worth having, I think it's worth having a bigger conversation now that I threw a whole bunch of bombs in the ground of like, here's all the possibilities that it could be. But yeah, I do think it's worth probably once we figure out our other big project, figuring out some thoughts about what that might be.
Sure, just a supplemental, Chair, thank you.
Yeah.
Just one thing I don't know, and maybe Manager Kiriko would know the answer to this, is that do we lease out space in our rec centers like on a long-term basis to clients, to tenants? Is that something that we do, and is that something that we could look at here or not?
Through the chair, so we actually do here in the childcare space.
Yes.
And so, yes, and Craig can probably definitely speak to probably the place that has our most leased spaces is Cruston.
Yeah.
And we have a physiotherapy, and then we have similar to here, we have a senior group, maybe not so much a lease, but very much a long-term tenant. And then in Cruston as well, we have the curling club. Craig, I don't know if I missed anything there, but Creston that's the newest of the facilities. So there are strategic pieces about Creston that make it different. Number one is its concession and its banquets types of facilities. Those are completely separate. The curling rink has always been operated that way. And strategically, when Creston was built, physiotherapy space was part of the strategic goal of that space. But I think you're correct in thinking that we should have a conversation about it. I think we have had worked around it a little bit through engagement and other things. And we can have a question about it in in our surveys. So it's definitely something that you should strategically talk about. Craig has got quite the number of them in Crescent. Craig, I don't know if there's anything in particular.
Yeah, no, through the chair, the curling club is a steady stream of revenue on a per square foot basis. It's also subsidized certainly for that activity that group provides to the community, and I think they've been there for a number of years, so they're good tenants. And the PhysioWorks conversation is as good tenants as well. The revenue generated versus the challenges we experience with having tenants is minimal. I think in PhysioWorks the lease right now is about and I was just looking at the agreement, close to $30,000 a year. So it does generate some revenue, and there is less overhead required to generate that revenue. It's, you know, the conversation is what else could we use with that space? And I don't think if it was a meeting space, we'd generate that in revenue to anybody. So it's a good piece. But the one that we are gapping currently in Creston is with the concession. And it's a unique difference between Castlegar and Creston, where we struggled to find a regular operator for even a nominal fee, where in Castlegar we're good with that. So there's a bit of an imbalance there. And yeah, we do have outbuildings, including the Rotocrest Hall, where there's a heavily subsidized group of seniors over there that also brought some investment to that property. So we've got options in Creston. Castlegar, the conversation about how we could repurpose the meeting rooms. Yeah, we should definitely get into that. You know, once we get through some other bigger conversations.
Just to add that, this is going to be a conversation that goes on for a while, but, you know, and just following what Commissioner McFadden had said, you know, you're hearing from people that the policies and procedures that we have right now, renting the meeting rooms, it just makes it so far away from like nonprofits to be able to actually rent it, bring in their own caterer, like things like that. So I'm wondering if we can look at the policies and procedures there in the meantime, because I think that might be the easiest way to go, because this other conversation, like Craig was saying, is bigger, the strategic portion. But I think we have to look at it, making it easier. And even think about our fees or whatever. I don't know if that's something we can look at.
So through the chair, that would require a couple of different things. The fees, of course, are done at typically in April. We talk about it at the All Rec meeting, and then it usually goes to the board for approval in May. So that's kind of the opportunity to look at fees. But when it comes to conversation related to the terms and conditions related to facility rental, that's part of a much larger picture around everything to deal with like risk management and making sure that, you know, our insurance policies. We have to protect the public interest in types of activities and things that are going on in these spaces. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to understand some of the challenges that people are having. Typically, our staff are really good at working through those with people. But I can appreciate that if this is not a world you typically live in, it can feel like a lot. But so if you're ever in conversation with people that are wanting to provide that feedback, we welcome it and certainly look to see what we could do to support people's use.
So the fees is something that we can discuss maybe in March, or if it's fees in April, how does that work?
So through the chair, it would go through to the All Rec committee, because it's actually for the entire district. So there's not fees specific to Castlegar per se. It is actually a meeting room of a given size is the same in Castlegar as it is in Creston, as it is in Nelson. So it's done as a whole, not as an individual site.
That really doesn't encourage, like when you're trying to encourage people to come and rent, right? Where maybe Creston's doing better, you know, than us or Nelson because they have newer things, right? Newer facilities than us. How do we encourage people to come here if we're not having decreased prices or whatever? Anyway, just.
Yeah. If I could, I would hesitate to make it a fee issue. These facilities like this pipe were built at a different time where we would save and all of these things. Like literally, Joe and Brian could all last the dinner and we could cook it ourselves and we could do the thing, and there's not a lot of scrutiny. There's not a lot of insurance requirements. There's like all of those kinds of things have changed. And I don't believe rentals, even dropping that fees, it may get you more rentals, but I don't know that I would equate that to best use. I think those two things are different questions. So
I'm just saying for now, until we have a strategy of where we're going, because I'm hearing that in our community, renting our meeting rooms
yeah,
are expensive.
Right, so I would encourage them to have those discussions here. Because I don't know, Trish, if we're getting that direct.
So through the chair, not to me directly, but that it would be easily not coming to me too, so it's hard to.
I think that's, sorry. I think what's happened is people come here, they inquire, they get the price, get all the details, and they're like, hey, that's way too much. You know, I have 70 people or 60 people and they go somewhere else, right? So I'm just delivering that. So it's something that we need to think about.
Well, Commissioner Pratt.
Do you have something you want to say?
No, go ahead, I can wait.
Yeah, it's on the fee conversation because I sit at the all rec and we've had some of these conversations, so staff can tell me if I'm wrong. It's a calculation based on cost compared to revenue. So although you might lower your fees and you might get more people using it, but you're actually losing money because the cost that you need in order to rent that space is still a certain level. And so all of those fees are structured based around it being subsidized to a certain degree. And so if we drop those fees, what you're actually saying is now Castlegar is subsidizing that more than other facilities, which isn't really our goal. Our goal is not to add revenue that we're subsidizing more because we're still not gaining money in the end. We're still losing more money. So if we can, I just say that to say that if, yes, the feedback is we rent it more if the cost was less, but we do our metrics and we say, yes, but if we drove up the cost, it's actually costing us more. That net is still more. That's not worth dropping your revenue and having more people in the building. It's back to like, we need to figure out what to do with that space. Because again, 60, 50 people, we don't have a lot of those spaces up in the big meeting rooms, which then is too big. You've got other spaces that fit that quite well, that they're going to be able to get more cost effective. So yeah, just throw that in there that I don't think it's a straight across that more people equals more revenue. It has to equate to more people and how much we're subsidizing those people to be in the building and seeing what kind of revenue net that gives us at the end of the day, if that makes any sense. I think I'm correct, right? On how you guys are factoring those numbers out.
No, go ahead. No, go.
I'm just, you know, I totally understand it. It's what people are saying is, you know, they've had to really rethink what they do or not do things at all, right? So I don't know how we get past that, right? And they're, you know, I don't know, but it's been an issue for a while. And you can see that in the revenue drop too, right? And, you know, likely it's from the confluence, right? Those small groups are going there because it's newer, fresher, you know, they have state-of-the-art media, all that stuff, right? So these are things that we really have to talk about is, you know, what are we going to do? Because it is a piece of real estate that we're losing money on.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Davidoff. What I was going to say is very similar to what Commissioner McFadden said. As well as I sit as the city liaison of the Chamber of Commerce. And at one of the board meetings, late fall, this very same conversation was held. And I asked the question, who was the private competition for a large event? There isn't one. The reason there isn't is because it's not viable to the customer. Because there's not enough large scale events that make it worthwhile for them to want to spend. The one that comes to mind is a diamond dinner, right? What other large scale events do we have here in short of conventions on a regular basis, right? And
Filipino Christmas.
right, but like, do we have 10? Do we have 4? I don't know, but it was interesting because the manager of the local hotel was on the board. And she was the one who said, well, we shut it down because it wasn't viable. It wasn't a good business decision. It's my Commissioner David.
Yeah, just one more factoid.
Yeah.
We're holding events at the casino in the executive room because there's no charge for the room. you have a really good, like, you have to have a meal. So that's the rule. So if you're gonna have a meal anyway, if you're gonna have an appreciation dinner and have a meeting at the same time, what we did is we just canvassed our, like, I've organized probably 8 of these, 6 or 7 a year. And the bottom line for different things. So if you're having dinner, the executive room is free. And like we've had, like those paint nights, whatever, all kinds of things. They set up and give you that whole area, not the executive room, but you have your meal and you've got everything in a really big room. And it's all set up, no charge. And all you do is pay for the dinner. And so that is competition for us.
There's an age limit on that too.
Yeah, there's an age limit.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And
adults. Yeah. And you gotta pass the, you gotta,
they're doing it for a reason because it makes it viable for them.
Yeah.
Commissioner McFadden.
Okay, last thought. We are here to provide a service that is not being provided anywhere else. That's what the rec commission's to do, not to be in competition. So if we see it as someone else is providing a service that is now a competition to us and they're doing it cheaper, great, let's get out of it. Like, we're not here to use taxpayer dollars to subsidize something that someone else is doing for cheaper. That's not actually what we're here to do. So it goes back to really, again, having a much bigger conversation over what are the gaps that are not being serviced in our community that this space should be used for. Because back when this was built, people had weddings of 200 and something people, and they had them indoors, right? No one does that anymore. Like my daughters got married this last year. We were the biggest wedding that people we have over 200 people. That's a really rare occasion. We did it outside. Like, people don't do that anymore. So what this space was built for, times have changed. And I just want to be careful that we don't look at other spaces as competition. If they're doing it better for cheaper, great. Let's get out of it. This building is funded by taxpayers, a good chunk of it. So let's make sure we're in spaces that we need to be in, that the public needs us to be subsidizing, because that's really what the rec commission should be doing. Anyways, so bigger conversation for a different day.
And I look forward to seeing the report and potential answers to what we're seeing. Good discussion, but in the interest of time, I think we should move on to the next report, which is Tricia and its customer experience project and next steps. Near and dear to my heart.
Thank you, through the chair. So you'll probably recall that we started having a conversation about this project roughly about a year ago. I think it was actually in the February meeting where we started to talk about this across the district. So just a reminder, there were 3 primary outcomes that we were aiming to achieve with this project. So one was to provide direct customer service or experience training to a team as a team development opportunity. So we targeted very specific staff across the district to go through what ended up being 4 modules at the time. We also developed a common service promise that would unite the staff under sort of one umbrella of what we were here to do, both to our patrons that come to our facilities, but also in and amongst our staff teams and across the department and certainly throughout our organization. And then to conduct actually a baseline survey to understand how we are delivering on our service promise at the time. So before we started to do anything different, let's try to understand what is our baseline in how people are receiving our service and what they have to say about it. So at the bottom of the first page, you'll see a bit of an overview of the 1,561, I believe was 1,635 was the final number of respondents. So there was a baseline to the baseline survey, which was out for 4 weeks from October 21st to November 21st. And you can see kind of across the district, the number of responses that came in the various kind of service areas. And I've just highlighted specifically because of course this is all about you. Castlegar District Community Complex, they're roughly equated to about 25% of our respondents, or 415 people that participated in that survey. The top of the next page is really highlighting where those responses were coming from. So as part of the survey, you identified which facility or area you were providing your responses about. And then within that complex or service area, what was it that what was the narrowing down where your responses were kind of pertaining to? So it's really no surprise that a large percentage of ours came from things like swimming, fitness center, and the arena. And of course, they could choose multiple options within this particular area. But it's really, when you think about just the experience of what people do when they come here, the swimming pool and the fitness center almost always require some interaction with front desk staff, and definitely with staff on the other side of, after they've kind of gone through their admission, on the other side, whether it's instructional, lifeguards, fit techs, or people on the other side delivering service. Versus on the arena side, which of course there are some people responding to that. Of course, when they come into the facility, there's lots of opportunity where they don't have to have direct interaction with staff, but we also wanted people to comment on what is the ambiance like? Is it clean? Is it all of the things that staff are doing to create a positive experience? We also were hoping people would comment on. So when it came to some of the key success indicators, and I'm kind of in the middle of the page of the 3 bullet points. So some of the key satisfaction indicators that were measured were 82.9% indicated they strongly agree or agree that they feel respected, welcomed, and heard when they come into the facility. With 1.7%, and sorry, I did not do the math for those of you that are math people to understand what number that is of 415 respondents, strongly disagreeing. 82.6% indicated they were very satisfied or satisfied with the level of care, attentiveness, and overall service received from staff, with 2.4% indicating that they were very dissatisfied, and 78.8% indicating they were either very satisfied or satisfied with the clarity and helpfulness of communication received from RDCK staff, whether that came to them in person, by phone, or online, or basically through other forms of communication. So we went through a bit of an analysis, which are the consulting individual that we had help with this project to evaluate sort of where our strengths and kind of key pressure points were, which is basically helping to identify where our key areas of focus will be going into 2026. So our areas of consistent strength were creating a welcoming environment. Participants frequently described the Castlegar complex as friendly, the staff friendly, approachable, and community oriented. Staff were definitely willing to help them. Many comments referenced staff taking time to assist, explain, or adjust services. And the third one was the positive perceptions when standards are consistent. So the cleanliness, the organization, and professionalism were noticed and appreciated when delivered reliably. So that was kind of a constant theme. So the 4 pressure points, some of these will probably be no surprise to you, but certainly cancellations and schedule clarity. Anytime that we have to suddenly cancel service, or where there's a service interruption and people feel like they didn't know or weren't informed, that was definitely something that people commented on, and is always an area of focus within community services. Aquatics access and peak time capacity. I think we heard a little bit about it from Aquafit, but certainly there's, like in almost every service, when it comes to recreation in a facility anyways, you certainly have those peak times, but what was interesting was the conversation around what to do with that. And it was, how do we communicate maybe, hey, this is a busy time, so that the expectation is set before people come, so that to us, it's obvious that maybe the early mornings or kind of before the workday starts, or certainly evenings and weekends, are our peak time. There are lots of children running around and splashing people without intent, but doing all those things that some people are not interested in having as part of their experience. And so figuring out how we can better communicate when those busy times are, or maybe encourage people to come at alternate times. Definitely around consistency in change rooms and showers. So there's constant feedback about anything to do with those experiences, which I know would be near and dear to some of you on the commission. But certainly those things that just interrupt someone's ability to go, all I want is a warm shower. I want the sink to work. I want to make sure that all those little things we know are challenging, and certainly looking for ways to improve how we communicate what's happening with those things, as much as being able to respond to them. I know has been a conversation around this table, so I know it's not a surprise. Tone and engagement and isolated interaction. So this was not a consistent issue, but definitely if someone felt like they were caught at the wrong time with a staff member, that tone, reminding staff of the significance of that one interaction can paint a picture of someone's experience, even if it only happened once and never happened again. That is the story of their experience, and continually finding ways to remind staff of the importance of those small moments, that every one of them matter. So that is a thing that we will continue to work on. When it came, the whole chart in the section in the middle of that page, it was just trying to capture some of the specific comments that we thought might be of interest to you. So we talked about kind of the area of the service promise that we were evaluating, some of the high level information about the analysis, and some of what those sample responses were, just because we thought they might be of interest to you. I won't go into them in any particular detail unless you want me to. Okay. And then we had a couple of recommendations to go forward with from the baseline survey. So definitely looking at ways to protect and reinforce the welcoming of clients. So again, that sounds very obvious, but this building is actually very challenging to welcome clients in. You can't see the front doors. The front desk is oriented in a very challenging way. Staff can easily be perceived as being unattentive because they don't even see the person at the door. And so it's just helping people understand that that is a challenge in this building, and finding ways to sort of deal with that, or deal with kind of those peak periods when there's lots of people coming through the door, as to how to not miss anyone. Strengthening communication consistency. Again, this is something that is an ongoing challenge in a department this size and with the complexity of our services. So that is just something we're constantly looking at and finding different ways to reframe or do things differently to improve how the public accesses our information and knows what's going on. Dealing with the aquatics capacity challenges. This is a little bit about what I just mentioned about setting clear expectations around those peak use periods, and providing staff with some consistent messaging and options when access is actually limited. Increasing consistency in high use areas. So aligning our cleaning and maintenance checks kind of with peak demand. So if it's a time when there's, say, a hockey tournament on, or a trade show or something like that, where the demand on the facility is so much greater than on a typical weekend or weekend of hockey activities, figuring out how to manage our resources a little differently so that we can actually up the change that experience, so it doesn't feel like the building kind of goes into a state of chaos during those peak demand times. And then certainly, obviously continuing to remind staff about those small details and nuances related to tone and consistency in how we deal with kind of challenging situations, or where just there's high pressure things going on, is just a component that we'll work into our ongoing training plans. So I've highlighted a couple of our next steps. Maybe the one that I'll focus on most as part of this process was to actually do a second baseline survey next fall. Or sorry, I guess this fall. So the idea was to say, if we had a goal, and we had an original goal of an 80% satisfaction rate, and I'm broad stroking that, before we did the baseline survey. And we were pleasantly surprised that that well exceeded in most areas of our department. So that's been adjusted, or is in the process of being adjusted. So now we want to make that target greater, and then say, what did we do to sort of continue to enhance customer experience, or be able to measure some of the efforts that we put forward in 2026. So maybe I'll leave it there. And
Right, thank you. Got Commissioner Hanegraaff, and then Commissioner Davidoff, and then anyone else, if they want, just raise your hand if you have questions. Go ahead.
So I hate to bring it up, but the showers, like, is there, and they were wonky again yesterday. And, everyone knows that in Nelson, you can actually turn the shower on, set it to the temperature you like, and then when you're done, you turn it off. As opposed to Castlegar, where you hit the button and you hit the button and you hit the button, and the temperature is all over the place most days. And like, I don't want to say that, Nelson gets treated like adults and we don't, but that does seem to be the feeling in the change rooms often, that it's just so inconsistent. And sometimes if I just want to rinse off, I'll do it out on the pool deck rather than put up with what goes on in the changing room. So can we move to the adult class and have control over the temperature and timing of our showers? I guess it's,
You want to know?
yeah, like a turn,
Mhm.
not a push. Yes.
So through the chair, that might be a better question for Craig, and I'm not sure if Craig is aware of any other.
Oh,
He's already unmuted.
you heard it.
Yeah, through the chair, this is, just as an anecdote, I was walking through the facility in Creston and a pool user stepped out into the hallway and she recognized them and confronted him with the temperature of the showers. I don't know if they're adult or child showers, to tell you the truth, but I think that the conversation could be with facilities about mixing valves again, water temperature, boilers, all that stuff. We can suss that out, but I think that the conversation about replacing the showers with new valves or hardware, we can bring that to the commission and do a comparison. Certainly the age of those shower heads, those valves, etc. We can have a conversation about the reliability and the need to replace those and have a decision or a conversation about that. I will take it back to the facility staff about the feedback we've just received.
Okay, because I have to tell you that if the showers are cold, the solution is someone goes and flushes the toilet. Sort of like being in a house of the 60s,
MacGyver's. MacGyver's, yeah.
Anyway, I'm trying to be funny, but really it's a source of aggravation at this facility. Just gonna say it.
I have to say, in the old days, when Joe was about 6 and I was 15, it was because they filled up the Zamboni with water. Sure, taking that up.
Okay, I think I'd like to contribute a small grant to the Henny Hennegraph shower.
It's not just me, it is.
Each thing would have a faucet with HH on it, so then we would know who made that up when we fly, right?
How about Henny and Friends?
Henny and Friends, there it goes.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Like, we might not want to go there and shower. Okay, so all joking aside, that's a legitimate complaint. I'm sure we can deal with it. It's not gonna be prohibitive expense, right? Shouldn't be.
I don't know.
Plumbers are what they charge, though, you never know. Okay, so what I always thought, and maybe I don't know if this is realistic, but I always thought there should be like you have a donut style kiosk at the entrance, just set back. Anybody coming in, it's donut style, so staff can process stuff. It's a I don't know if you've seen donut style kiosks. It's like it's a desk inside there. You've got computers, you got everything there. And in essence, everybody that walks in gets welcome, say hello, how can I help you? And basically can process a bunch of stuff right at that station. So in essence, it's a donut kiosk workstation. It's not big, doesn't take up 3/4 of the hallway. It's not a fire hazard or anything like that. But they're really efficient. And you can do a lot of work. And people can do shifts in there or whatever, however you staff it, right? But then every person coming in would be welcome. And then you could, at some things, it's just a question, like, yeah, it's over there. Where's this? It's just go down here. So I don't, it's just an idea, but something for staff to think about. Thank you, Chair.
Interesting.
Yeah, just further that, every time I walk by here, I'm always wondering, this is our main entrance here. But we have the doors over there open all the time. So I always think, how do we control that? Is that a safety thing, having them open, people just coming in and out? So is there a reason why we have those open so people can just come in, do whatever they want, and staff doesn't even know they're here or where they're going? Should we not just have And I kind of looked this up to one entrance where you go in. You could probably go out that way if you want, lock it. But I just think for safety and, you know, you're talking about inviting, you know, being inviting and all that, that would be ideal to have it that way. Just I'm putting it out there that this is our main entrance. That is not.
For the chairman, I think, you know, this is, in terms of defining the entryway, this is probably one of the most difficult buildings because the parking actually wraps around to that side. So there is a culture of coming in, being able to come in through those side doors. But if I don't know that the two pieces are necessarily related. There, as far as I know, Craig, we haven't had a security issue of theft or anything else because of the side doors. Like that's not something that we've noticed. And it's not that we're noticing theft of service, i.e. people sneaking into the pool or anything like that. Right now, it's that those doors sometimes tend to get used as the direct arena entryway doors. It's interesting though that you pointed out, Sue, because it is something that even with the design for the new building, if you think it's a challenge now, it will become more of a challenge.
Mhm.
And it's the one thing that the building added on, but didn't really take its entryway seriously. And that's kind of typical of buildings of the 90s and 80s. That was kind of seen as an afterthought, where in Creston, which is our newest building, there was an emphasis on how that worked. It is one of the challenges, and it's why in that 2018 referendum, there was actually a lot of effort put into how we bring people into the space. So I think it's always going to be a challenge. I think I am not sure right now it is worth the frustration that it will cause changing that right now. But as you're going into design, as we're going through these new processes, and hopefully the community believes that those are something worth investing in, that piece is going to become very important. It's going to become more, it's actually going to become a little bit more difficult. And so we do have to really think that through carefully. Because we're kind of spread out like this going across this front.
Question. Right. Thank you for that, Trish. I look forward to the next update on it. Hours? No, I was more thinking of the people at the front because I will say that the way the desk is set up is extremely difficult to tell who is the person that's going to register you and who is that person who is frantically working on assignment for Mr. Chirico. It's like it's like when you have a store with a pharmacy in it, people come and say the pharmacist isn't paying me any attention. Well, I'm sorry. They're focused on their task because they're counting pills, which is really important. You know, like who, you know, it's how do you tell what the person's really doing, right? So, but anyway.
Sorry, I do have another question.
Okay.
Just, the survey, the next survey is in October.
Oh, sorry, through the chair, we haven't set an official date, just in the fall.
Okay, so it's in here, I think it's October.
I think I just said the fall. Did I commit to a date?
That follow-up survey in the fall, and it says October 2026.
then it just can definitely be October 26th.
That's the way.
So that would be.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't know if that's, yeah, you might wanna rethink that if we go ahead with a referendum in October.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Might be better to do it sooner. Yeah,
Sure. So,
or after.
yeah.
I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, we'll move on to 7.4, the 2026 to 2030 financial plan. This getting close to the swan song.
Through the chair, I hope all those
You do
thoughts of goodwill are.
you do them for sleep.
So I think the way that it's presented in the okay, Jen will have it up in a second, but we'll start with the capital planning piece first, and Craig will help provide you the details of those capital plans, although we have discussed them, just to make sure that people online have them, have that conversation. So the first piece, and then just as you're moving forward, I really hope that each of you leave a letter for whoever might be around this table to continue with the plan for capital. Because this is the service where we, as staff, we can actually plan and look forward, and it is appreciated knowing that clarity. So there's a few things that are new. So when reviewing these budgets, there were a couple of strategic pieces that I want to make you aware of that are different than January. Number one is we did talk about it, but there's the actually, I don't even know that it was in the January piece, but at the board in January were the new fees for the asset management administration. To note that I did not, what we did is I planned in this financial plan, that is paid for out of that $900,000 this year. So that is not added to operating. I didn't add it to operating. It's part of the funding of that that targeted 900,000. I think we had already talked about that the $60,000 for the facility condition assessments, that was already part of that 900,000. There's another thing that through looking at the budgets and its impact, moved some of the costs that we had for the major pool shutdown into, right now it's into capital. Craig, myself, and like we've been talking about somehow this way of tracking these things that are capital projects, but are also those other things that are big expenditures that have a long life. So, we're not talking about an expenditure that only has a 1-year lifespan, but something that we're changing that really is part of the asset management process that might last 10 years or 15 years. So, we still haven't got that fleshed out, but we've moved some of that funding from there into it's in a capital project in S227. So what that did is that also decreased that operating budget. Maria reminded me last meeting, and I think I've made it obvious here, but one of the big pieces that we do have to come to grips with is this operating surplus. So we'll go into there. But I thought, Craig, if you could quickly do a rundown of our 2026 capital plan for S222 and S227. The major projects that are in those big numbers.
Yeah, through the chair, I just see the screen that we're sharing is in a file. I'm not sure if we're intending to show that. I don't know if you see that where we're looking at just the addenda package. I can share
Does that start in 26 of our agenda?
Yeah.
26, is it?
All right, I didn't want to just create like just a super high level, like the major projects, the roofing. And then you will have all those capital plans as we move through the budgets.
Yeah, no, just if somebody would stop sharing that, what we're looking at, I just, for some reason, I've got this. Yeah, thanks. There we go. Thanks. So this is from, high level. We've got the Glade Legacy Park. Start with parks. The Glade Park Legacy Project, that's sitting at 130,000, partly funded, certainly funded from previous years, but also partially grant funded. Roof repairs, this is for S222, apologies. Roof repairs at about 873 for the scope of work, which was 885 last year, which we deferred minus what we'd spent last year. Arena rooftop units, we got another one this year planned for 75,000. The roof insulation and the low E ceiling is budgeted at 427 currently. The arena door replacement carryover from last year is 114. So we're as I said earlier, we're gonna get that done. We have office renovation budgeted out of S222 at 80,000 right now. Joe, that number might be a little wonky. I apologize, but we're looking at spending 80 or 100,000 on the arena office renovations. And part of that project is there's three needs. One is that we've got a staff safety issue with the flow of those three offices exposed to the front entrance and the lobby. We want to move the door, the opening to those offices to the back to the hallway. So those offices will get moved. We also have a need to develop a staff lunchroom. So we currently don't have a designated staff lunchroom in the facility. So we're looking at implementing that. But one of the other concerns that we have is in mitigating radon. And in that building in particular, we do have from time to time higher than limited radon. So the radon number, and I'll use very high level ballpark, but the number used to be 800. And I forget what the units of measure are, but now it's 200. And so it's significantly lower. And so we find ourselves over the threshold of radon safe levels for extended exposure. So we're looking at mitigating that. We've done a little bit of that in the facility, certainly in the operations supervisor's office. We'd spent $7,000 or $8,000 in 2025 to mitigate that. So we're looking at doing that as part of the office renovation. So that's, and then we've got the arena accessibility lift at budgeted at $100,000. We're still looking at options for that. We have an architect involved to tell us our plan to go up the stairs to provide accessibility to the top of the arena bleachers. We think that's the solution. It may or may not be the solution if the architect deems that less feasible, but we'll come back to the commission with that conversation. That's currently budgeted at 100,000. And then the 600,000 I had in the roof repairs actually is a lot less than that. That was the last time we talked about this because we have I think it's about 150 left over for that project. So that scope of work for the interior is I believe 150,000. And then I think that's it, Joe, for the capital. I'm just speaking high level. I don't have apologies, I don't have the package in front of me.
Yeah, so we'll go through because we do have the capital budgets coming up to break it out. So in total, between asset management, the planned capital projects, the facility condition assessments, our spending is about $2.519 million this year on this building. So that's going to be funded by a few primary sources. Number one is the $900,000 this year. What the first, Jenna, can we just bring that up? Wish I had a little pointer, but that capital, so where it says first is a taxation, so you can see the majority of that taxation is going to S222. That's where the majority of work is. So that we're showing the next piece is the surplus that's carried over from the funding for capital last year. So in S222, we're bringing over 774,000. S227, well, a lot less, $17,000. So reserve grant funding.
Sorry,
So-
that's, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
That surplus, that's mainly from the roof and that, right? Is that,
Yeah, so it's from those projects that we brought it in, and we had a number of things that we had planned, and some of those things got delayed to this year. So the reserve grants, the reserve and grant funding, so there's $532,000 is coming from reserves. $5,000 is coming from the remainder of the CBT grant, and that's for the lift. So the there was $45,000 received last year. That's actually in that S222 service surplus number. In order to fund all the capital, we will need to borrow. This is something that I changed the way that we had this planned. I had a plan saying that, oh, you know what we'll do is we'll borrow and we'll project that we're going to start that borrowing in September. But you're going to, if as you're moving through the year, as those projects are going and Craig's reporting on those projects, if we need to borrow, I would suggest you delay that borrowing to as late in the year as possible, because you actually will have that funding. So for example, if you were to look at our requisition when we get it in August, and then how we use that all the way to December, there's actually funding available. Where it gets to a crunch is in December. And that's when you'll need to borrow. And you'll know, but right now we're projecting 290,000. I believe when I had this in January, it was over 500,000. So you can see that as we're doing this, it's crunching down. Hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully, tenders and that come in with very good and competitive pricing. We don't have to do that.
so then we wouldn't have to tax for that this year.
We're not actually, we're not accounting for those borrowing costs this year.
Yeah.
Because if we do it as late as we can, hopefully this would be 5-year, and 5-year is done. There will be a payment in December if we draw it, but it'll be very small.
Commissioner David?
Yeah, so it's just interesting how the numbers map. So Craig didn't mention the $280,000 for arena design as when he went to the.
No, sorry.
So, so basically, if we weren't allocating that 280 and taking it out of S222, then we wouldn't have to look at borrowing at all, correct?
It would look that way. Yes, it's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yes. But just.
No, I got.
Yeah, I know. But remember last year we were looking at borrowing,
Yeah.
even though, so. But good point. That's a complete coincidence, that number.
It just.
It looks that it's purposeful, but it isn't. I just want to make sure it's not purposeful.
Okay, thank you.
So what you see then, so when we do that calculation in those future years, we include that borrowing in that total funding of capital. So along the bottom is an estimate based upon, the way that MFA does that. It will, don't think of that as accurate. As we draw that money, we'll know what that is. And hopefully interest rates are even lower at that time. So if that summary is okay, we'll flip over to high level details. So again,
Which document are you?
sorry, just the next page.
Page 21.
So here, what I'm just trying to show is how these two items have changed, give you an idea of where that tax increase is coming from. What you see on the top on the S22 draft, you see what was operational taxation last year, what was capital asset management taxation, and how that changes. And you see the same in S227. What you see, and I was hearing this from commission around the table, this idea of trying to show what would be a typical normal inflationary amount for this type of business and where we're at. So when you look and you see S222 and it says new expenses 5.4. Although that new expenses now thinking is maybe I should call that impacts. The biggest change in that is the decreased operational surplus. S227, it is the same, it's the same thing. It's that decreased operational surplus. So what that means is that the actual spend has not changed. It's just that surplus amount has. So when you see S222 new expenses 5.4, that directly relates to that 5.6 in the change comparing the taxation.
McFadden.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I didn't know if you were finished like explaining the page. Okay.
Yeah.
The second way. Okay, so then my question would be, it's not clear here. Is any part of this year's or last year's surplus being used for operations this year? Like, because clearly you can see here, there is 100 and whatever, 20,000, 30,000, right? That we now, right, have to catch up for, which I want to get away from, what I said many times. So I'm just wondering, so this year's budget, is any of it being subsidized by surplus? And if so, how much? Because I can't, because in the main budget, the surplus for capital is mixed into the surplus for operational, which are two different things to me. Like surplus for capital is one off. Doesn't matter if we're using surplus from capital for capital, because that's where it's one off costs. But is any of the surplus from operational being used at all? Or we now are like down to, we're taking it out. That's where these two numbers are coming from. Do you know what I'm asking?
I do.
Okay.
And I separated it all the detailed budgets.
Oh, you
Do
did.
that, yeah. So
Is it? Sorry.
it's okay. So in S222, $81,000 is operational surplus in our estimate right now, and 774 is capital. But of that 81, 10,513 is known what that is. That is for the grants.
There it is. I'm sorry.
The grants for Castlegar, from the old youth service.
What page you on?
Page
22, it's the second from the bottom on S222, and then
And so I separated out what it was in 2025 as well. So you can see that's that 90, that's that $88,000 there. And it shows the same thing for S227 went from 200 to 150. So there's 150,000 of operational surplus in S227.
to follow-up question. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is there any way at this point in the budget to take that out, at least half of it? Like, I want to get away, because we're gonna end up in the same thing next year then, where we're like, constantly offsetting this. So I understand it's a pretty big jump to do in all 1 year. Is there a way to phase in this idea that we're no longer using surplus? So, okay, we've got to phase this in because it's been a part of our budget. We're used to just having this surplus there. Is there a way to phase that in? Stuart's got his hand up.
The chair, I got a question for Joe. Is the $81,000 minus the 10.5, let me know what it is, so we're talking $70,500. Is that an operational surplus as in you were over your user fees? Or is it an operational surplus as you were under your costs? Because I think I would treat those two things differently, depending on what they are. Because if you did better at the door, then that's essentially, it's not free money, but it's not money you're going to spend again in 2026. If it's under costs, it could be money that you're going to spend again in 2026. So I would treat those two things differently.
Would you recommend expenses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in S222, we did generate, although room rentals were down, like rentals overall in the building were up. So part of that comes from that. But it's a good question.
But it's only 13,000, am I correct? It's only
Yeah.
13,000 different?
No, over budget, it is 58,000. Yeah, pretty much. On that rental piece. But I didn't get to that point of.
Okay, so going back to page 21, we're looking at S222.
Oh, sorry. There's also one big change in 2026. 2026 will be the first year with no funding from rentals and Pioneer. So like this is part of our goals of evaluating this is that we've actually got this changing service level in it as well. Sorry, Andy.
Oh, no worries. So basically, I just look at this and for every $140,000, we're shifting, I view that as a 5% tax increase in the service, not overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So bottom line is that I'm looking at S222 new expenses, 5.4%. What I don't see here is the $280,000 for the arena design, because that is a 10% increase in the service, right?
That's not operational. So that's why this is just operational.
I get, yeah.
That's the cap.
I'm just explaining, sorry, you're right, I shouldn't be answering.
Yeah, I'm just really trying to, like, I'm getting questions and I have to answer the questions, as you all know. I have constituents who really follow this stuff very closely. And the key thing is that I think we need to be really transparent, although we're spending $280,000 for arena design for a service that's not yet established. That's exactly what we're doing. And the key thing is that in essence, put it this way. I had this question asked of me. Would we ever do this? An area I wanted to establish something on its own at the junction. And the key thing is that when we got access to the land there at Campbell Field, and we wanted to do a service amphitheater, say, which is the top priority that came out in our surveys. So we wanted to do an amphitheater for performing arts at Campbell Field. And Area H agreed, okay, you guys go ahead, do it no cost. Area I will pay for everything. Would we allocate $280,000 for planning that amphitheater on a potential result in a referendum where we've heard, and this is the constituents say, we've heard it said at your meetings that will be repaid from the service if it's established. However, what nobody's heard is what happens if the referendum fails. You know, would Area I then be expected to repay that? So if the service went ahead, so same thing for City and J, is our City and J, they're saying what they've heard at these meetings is that $280,000 will be repaid if the referendum passes. However, what if it fails? And the key thing is then who reimburses S222? That's got to come out of somewhere. And that's City and Area J somehow. So they're trying to understand what we're doing, and I'm trying to explain it as best I can. Just so you know where I'm coming from.
And so through the chair, I can't answer the question about would commission approve that expenditure. But the 280, I'm sorry, 280 is not part of the operational requisition. It is within the capital requisition. So right now, it is part of that $900,000 that was part of the strategic plan for 2026. It's not sitting out there as a separate number. So when we're talking about that 5.4 in S222, it does not relate to that increase.
So supplemental chair. So what my constituents see and what I've already been asked is that our share of that $280,000 in terms of contribution to S222, everybody in Area I pays into S222, is $40,000 ballpark, right? $40,000 for every $20,000 in the air for Area I taxation. That's a 5% increase, or that's a percent increase in taxation. So 2% of our overall increase in taxation for this year is that $40,000. So basically, no matter how we, where it slots into the budget, there is this overall taxation on Area I of 2% of all of the services. That's an overall taxation increase of 2%, $40,000, which I'm trying to figure out, what do I do? How do I adjust the Area I budget to offset that 40,000? And right now, the only way I can do it that I'm looking at is the fire service contribution to reserve. So the key thing is that, but ultimately, the question is, if the referendum fails, how is this going to be paid back to the service? So however, like I'm just, this is the elephant in the room that I want to get clarity on. And I want to be able to explain to my constituents, don't worry about that. If the referendum fails, it's going to get paid back. If the referendum passes, it'll come out of the service. But right now, that's not clear.
Just writing down names. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I can't speak for the rest of the commission, so I'll speak for myself to answer your question. It's a fair question and it's a fair response from your constituents. I understand our budgets are not easy for everyone to understand. Like, we can easily say around this table that 2% would be there no matter what, because we've already made a commitment to capital. But to them, it's like, oh, well, why don't you just not pay it into capital that year and take it off our bill? I get all those nuances. And at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with you saying, you're right, I wouldn't do it, but I got outvoted. Like, I really don't have a problem, because I'm aware that I'm not planning on paying that back if it fails. I don't think there is a way to pay it back. We're taking a chance. And here's the reason we're taking a chance. So we did a lot of work to decide, is this what City and Area J, Area I want? It became clear, City of Castlegar and Area J, yes. It became clear that it was a pretty high enough percentage with an amount of dollar attached to that we are taking a risk. Absolutely. I don't want to pretend we're not taking a risk, but it's an educated risk. Just like we're taking an educated risk to say that that if it goes through, we're going to build an arena and not charge Area I for it. That's also a risk on our side. To say if it goes through, we're not going to charge Area I residents anymore to use that service. We're going to pay for it. We're going to do all that. So I think on both sides, it's a trust exercise of saying, we know that we are taking a risk. And on the other side, we're also going to carry the burden if it goes through. And I'm fine with you being able to tell your constituents that I disagree and I got outvoted. Like, that's okay with me, because I know that we're putting you in an awkward position. I'm not pretending we're not putting you in an awkward position, but it's still the right decision for the whole region, in my opinion. So that would be for me. There is clarity out there that no, there is no intention, I think, to pay that back if it fails.
So Chair, can I respond?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, also what is happening with the changes to the bylaws. I mean, people see exactly what's going on. Like, I've got very, very bright people who are tracking this in my area, and it took me a few years to catch on to this stuff. Some of them read stuff, they catch on. Andy, I've got a question for you. So the way it sits right now, with the amendments that have been passed at the board table to Service S22, that Service S22 basically scope is to include all those recreational facilities. I get the question that, well, no, Area is not going to get a free ride if this referendum passes and Area, you know, the new Castlegar and J service goes ahead and builds this facility, because on the operational side, Area I is again outvoted and everything that's passed, and I've got my votes recorded opposed because I knew it was coming. So on the operational side, there is an expectation that Area I will contribute its 14% of the operational costs of this facility. And the way I have said to my constituents is, I says, yeah, and I'm not making this, I'm voting against this stuff, but ultimately, that's the cost of using these facilities. It's you kick in your 14% of the operational costs. And that's not something that I can control, because I could vote against it, but I'm one vote. Thank you for saying very clearly here for the first time that Area J and the city have no intention of repaying this money if the referendum fails.
Just me. I did clarity of like, I was speaking for myself and I want to make sure that I'm not.
You're wearing a.
So I would say from the city, yes, absolutely from the city side. I don't want to speak for AJ, but I'm pretty sure I can, but I don't want to be sure. I just wanted to make sure that was clear, Andy. But yeah.
Thank you. That I just wanted that out there. It's on the record. So then there's clarity. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be a big shock that I agree with, what Commissioner McFadden has said. We are each responsible to our own constituents, and the constituents in the were very clear about what they wanted. And so that's how I base my decision making. And that's why Area J and the city are lined up, because all of our residents want this. And we totally understand, Andy. We went to your communities, we heard what your people had to say, and we understand that they don't want to participate, and that's fine. They don't have to, but we need to move this forward on behalf of the people we represent. And that's just, sometimes that's the way things are, and we all just do what we need to do to move things forward on behalf of the people we represent. So, no hard feeling.
No, this is commission business. So I have one more just to that. Okay, so basically, I completely understand this, and thank you, Andy, for confirming that. The key thing here is that I've spoken on the record here that I would really prefer that the service, I have no problem, none, and I've stated this everywhere. I have no problem with, the city and Jay building something and having a service. None, zero, that's great. But at the end of the day, Area I is part of this vortex where the only thing we have is one vote. And no matter what you have a vote as well, but combined with the city, I'll vote the Area I. But the key thing is that if the shoe was on the other foot and Area I wanted a project, would we get the support of this city and Jay to use $280,000 as a gamble on a service that may pass. Like, that's what I've been.
I would think it should depend what the,
Go ahead, sorry.
sorry, through you. I should shorten my name.
It's
I
got
think
a nice lilt to it.
I would not be opposed to that. And, you know, amphitheater, I've been trying to get one built in Castlegar a few times. But I think like for this project, we are taking on all the risk of it. And at the end of the day, I think it's gonna be an arena and a facility that's gonna be a great shared resource. I have faith in our communities. I do have faith in our communities, and I think it's gonna be a great resource for everybody. And I understand, you know, a $40,000 hit, that's a lot, but I think at the end, the outcome, I think we'll all be proud of what gets accomplished. And, you know, I do sympathize with you. No one wants to put an increase in taxation. But I think we're at the point that we just have to move on.
And there are no hard feelings. This is commission business. I'm trying to represent my constituents, answer their questions. And I think I've made that really clear. It's nothing personal at all.
Did you have your hand up, Andy? I just, with respect through the church director, David asked question, answering a hypothetical question is really, really difficult. But I will say that I believe that this commission has shown a willingness to consider input from everyone, especially going to your 5 communities, Andy, to hear from your people. And so I think if it came to something like that, I believe, I know myself, I would look at the question, whether it made sense, whether it was something that could be accomplished, and really give it full consideration. Who knows? I don't know if I'd say yes or no, because there's nothing in front of me right now. But I will say this, that as commissioners, we're representing our areas, but we really have to look at the good of the whole too. And so what I will say to the question that was put is, I would give it full consideration and make a reasoned decision.
With that.
Yeah, so 2 things. I'll answer the one question, and then I'll go back to the other one. To answer the question is, if there was a project that came forward that had as much data as we did on this, to really clarify and specify what the project was, and there was a high enough percentage that was on paper that said, yes, we're willing to pay X number of dollars, all of those metrics, absolutely, I would consider that. Because that's how I made this decision. If it came back in Area J in the city that those numbers were too close to 50%, I would have said, we're not building a second arena. We're not even trying. Because it's not about what I want. It's about saying, does the metrics that the community's saying they want, which is the same reason why we put the $15 million cap on it, even though we're like, this is gonna be pretty hard to do, but this is what they said they pay. So we're gonna see what it does. Now, so saying all that, so absolutely, I don't think I would treat your area any different than we've treated this project. The other thing is, yes, Area I is paying into the capital, which you've already done with the Pioneer, or not capital, with the operations, which you've already done with the Pioneer. So it's a continued service, not a new service, which I get, you would understand that, and I understand for your residents that they may not see it that way, but it's a continued service that they already had. It's not a new service. And we are taking on, they're not paying for all of it though. They're not paying for the 15 million of the actual new facility. They're just contributing to the ongoing service they already had. And I understand the nuance that people don't see it like that because it's a new building, but that is the facts though, is it's an ongoing service that just got decreased for 1.5 years, maybe 2, and coming back, but we were already paying and taxing for it. Again, do understand though, that you're in a difficult position, not minimizing that at all.
Thank you.
I will concur with everybody in the room. I think it's good discussion. And I'm looking at it as an expense for the future, for the benefit of the young people and it's the future generations around here. Sort of the 25-year outlook and not looking at it on a 4-year cycle. So,
I'm looking at the walking path, it's something as
I've heard
seniors,
very
as
good
seniors,
things about that. Yeah.
yeah. As seniors.
Carry on.
I have just a comment. Can you guys help us out with the Sheracre Road? Our active transportation network is totally degraded. Can't walk on the road, can't push a stroller, can't do anything. I just did an interview with Gold FM. I just sent a letter to the Premier, Premier and Minister of Finance and Brittany, our rural, Minister of Rural Development, saying you can't come into a community and degrade the road surface where no one can use it and just walk away. And you know what the answer was from the ministry? Local government should pay for any active transportation network in writing. So my letter to the editor, which probably won't get published, but the key thing is that it's going to be on the board agenda, Stuart. You got to make sure it's on there, okay? Main road is totally degraded. Throughout the whole community, can't ride a bike, can't do anything. The pictures are horrendous. The impact statements from the community are horrendous. Seniors can't walk on the road. A mother cannot push a baby stroller. There's active transportation, which is recreation related, completely degraded, would never happen within the city of Castlegar, ever, on any street.
That'll be a good discussion at the board table.
Yeah, it's an urban-rural divide. Like we're the poor country cousin. We get the leftovers and 25% of paving costs even go away. It's not just our community, it's happening across the province. So just so you guys know. It's horrible.
Carry on. Sure, come.
So if we were to go back and to the summary page,
Which is.
Page 21.
21,
21.
Blackjacks.
Yeah, sorry for the Mercer rant.
so just the, so we've done S222 of those primary expenses. S227, again, we have that $50,000 of decrease, operational surplus, a projected decrease due to the pool shutdown. And this, I wanted to explain, it's been both S222 and S227, this piece about, when we were doing these budgets long-term, we were using 2.5% for increases, but our union contract is higher. So that has impacted what our projections were. And so those net increases are shown in that piece. So in terms of operational taxation, S222 is actually for operational expenses, it's actually pretty flat. S227 is where there's a change. And that comes down to a number of different things. One is aquatics. It's the ever fluctuating aquatic schedule based upon actually having employees available, which is starting to make this really difficult to interpret. It is a decreased operational surplus. That seems to be the two things that are driving that change. So, I've been thinking about what are those ways that we can impact that, and I'm not sure that there is. Like if we want to be able that when we have the staff that hit operations and aquatics, it gets really risky pulling money out of that salary budget for when we actually have the staff to do it. I think we did a lot of that work last year. And to remember, it's like, that's one of those changes in S227. We decreased the staffing budget to reflect the staff that we didn't have up until that point. But then we're getting ourselves caught now in a vicious kind of a little bit of a vicious circle. I think right now, based upon going through this, I think this budget's pretty tight. The fact that capital is funded with this dedicated funding, that I can't really even can't look in there, because that just might mean that more money goes into reserves or something like that. I think it's pretty tight. To note that we do have some unknowns of past creek operations. We're moving away from a long-time contractor to a market price that will be, that feels risky, that feels risky. And I think staff has taken the appropriate, I think Craig and Carrie have really worked on that appropriate number to manage that risk. I think this is pretty close to where we need to be. Now, to Maria's question, though, at the moment, the surplus that's projected for operations is fully allocated in this budget. The reason that it feels like with a number of things that we have, like whether it be the major pool shutdown or this large contract for Pass Creek going out to market, there's so much uncertainty in that expense. I didn't know that we should be not allocating it to that. But I would say that once those things are done, hopefully that's May. Craig, Craig, I would think that by May you'll know what Pass Creek may be at. And Craig and AJ and our project management team will have those first tenders starting to come back. I think you'll start to be able to make that longer term look. Craig, I didn't say anything wrong there?
Yeah, no, through the chair. I just had to go mobile for a quick sec. So, no, that Pass Creek contract, we should get that back pretty quick, and we'll know where that sits. But yeah, with all the other project stuff, we're moving ahead on that, so we'll have a good idea by late spring on where we sit for tenders and contract awards.
Is there anything that you want me to go into more?
Official last
Budget.
budget meeting already done.
I was thinking the same thing.
No, there was sorry, if we can, just for a moment.
Sorry, Chair.
If I should borrow. Is that we have a new service committee, the Spokane Valley Services.
Right.
And so they were setting their next meeting date, and they set it for February 26th. And Mayor Keesley, it was so funny because he was laughing. He knew right away. And he said, "Joe, we got you for one more day." Yeah, so no, Leonard did. So even though this isn't my last, not my last budget meeting, I just do want to say, like, Craig and Trisha with Tia, and in this case, Vanessa and Carrie, that group has really put a lot of care into this, and it's in very good hands.
Say something? I really like the format in the notes this year. Yeah, you guys really changed it, and I like that little page 21, the summary of the changes. So hopefully they're the new Joe. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, it just made it easier, right? Yeah, to follow along in that, yeah.
One more suggestion for the new Joe is that when you look at our resource budgets and when you have the 5-year plan and then the notes right there for each line.
Mhm.
So it's a line by line budget note. Do you hate those? I love all of those notes on every budget line because it's just saying.
So we're also surprised.
Putting you like notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Stuart. Go ahead, Stuart. Stuart,
I was just gonna say, through the chair, that there wouldn't be as much value
yeah.
in it, like the
Yeah.
helpful thing for the resource recovery budgets is because the areas are so big.
Yeah.
Although you have a regional view on it, you also have an individual focus where you're interested in what's going on in Udashenia, right? You know, you might not be as interested in the Cusp or Roseberry or.
Well, Nelson contributing more would be.
Right, so you can go down to say, okay, what's the operating budget for the facility that's closest to me, whereas seeing stuff on an aquatics line item basis or program, again, getting into the fitness line item, I think it's gonna be
It's a bit.
way too
It's a bit.
way too deep for you to get into, you know, the personal trainer line.
No,
That's not really.
Yeah, no, I say that in jest, and I appreciate the new format as well. I think seeing as much as possible on one sheet of paper is kind of helpful sometimes, right? That's my point.
Yes.
I was gonna say, you know, we talk high level this, high level that, then when it comes to budgets, we want to count the paper clips. And digging into the minutia like that, I don't need that level of detail, I'm just gonna
I
say.
think she's frustrated.
Okay.
It's
Well, yes.
I got a great story about that if you want to hear one day.
Yeah. So at the end of all this, there's no recommendation. So is this just going to be an ongoing thing where you come back each month to us, Joe?
Through the chair, if there's no like specific direction to make it will be the draft. It will be what was in
The draft things go to the board.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
7.5, Castlegar District Community Complex expansion update from Tricia.
Yes, there is a recommendation in front of you. I'll just read it so that you have it kind of front and center. So it's just that the Castlegar and District Recreation Commission support holding a referendum related to the expansion of the Castlegar and District Complex with the addition of a second sheet of ice at the time of the local election in October 2024. So largely this
26.
This is 2024.
You did. You're like gone
No.
a couple years.
Not sure, not sure what number I was looking at there. Sorry about that. Oh, I see where I was seeing it, but anyways, yes, got it, 2026. So, just as, the background is just largely a bit of, history that I know you're all very well aware of. But maybe one of the important parts to highlight is, we had a kickoff meeting with the project team. So this is where Paul Fast, who I think many of you, will remember meeting at our workshop. So Paul, his whole team of consultants were brought forward, and Joe and I sat through and with AJ, the project management lead, on this particular project and had an opportunity to sort of review the whole scope and understand sort of the timeline that they were on. And so in this, in that particular kickoff meeting, you'll see at the top of page 2, they were outlining their timeline, which is something that's very ambitious, but basically this gets to a point where we would actually have information that we would take to the referendum in October. So this is lining up with the understanding that we were taking this project to referendum as part of the timing of the local election. So all of this is with confirmation that is the timeline that we're on, and we just wanted to make sure that there were no surprises with that timeline before we continue to move forward with the consulting team.
I'll move the motion.
I'll second it.
There have an amendment.
Okay. I had a question on the motion, but
Okay,
what's that?
okay.
I'm just wondering why the recommendation doesn't say and a walking track,
Oh, fair.
because that was the original intent.
Sure.
And I wouldn't want it to be out there and people all of a sudden going. So
So could,
that would be a
Friendly amendment, absolutely, I'm
Could we do that?
yeah, second sheet.
I'm okay with,
You're okay with that? Thank you.
Yeah.
And through the
Okay.
chair, just for clarity, there is, that was very much a part of the project scope. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And Commissioner David, thank you.
yeah, I
Appreciate that.
no worries about that. So can I move my amendment?
Yes.
Okay, so the amendment is, is as follows. The amended motion would read as follows. That the Castlegar District Recreation Commission supports the referendum related to the expansion of the Castlegar District Community Complex with the addition of a second sheet of ice and a walking track at the time of local election in October 2026, conditional on the city of Castlegar and Area J repaying the $280,000 in design build costs allocated to this project from S222, regardless of the referendum outcome, with the reimbursement recorded as revenue in the 2026 S222 budget and the 2026 to 2030 financial plan. And if I could speak to the amendment, Chair, if there's a seconder.
I'll second it.
Thank you, just for discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the intent here is, I think it's really clear the way it's set up. There was discussion at this table saying if the referendum succeeds, the $280,000 would be paid back to S222 from the new service. Today is the first time we had a conversation about what happens to the 280 if the referendum is not successful. And you know, at this table, I've spoken to alternate ways of funding the 280. But this way, if the city of Castlegar and Area J repay the 280 to service S22, which in essence benefits and replenishes our capital kind of budget, right, available for spending on S222. So in essence, area I gets its 40,000 back, but the city and J put back pay back the 240, right? And so then we're made whole again in S222 to do the work that we need to do in S222 in terms of our capital costs. So basically, this deals with referendum passing, referendum failing. It's really clear what would happen. And so that's the intent of the motion. And I really think it's important. I think it's fiscally responsible. It's accountable. There was discussion here today about taking a chance. It's a $280,000 chance that things will go ahead and succeed. But what happens if they don't? So that's what this motion is. I respectfully request that it be supported. Realistically, I doubt it will, but I think I have to do this to make it really clear what our intent is on behalf of the ratepayers in Area I. Thank you, Chair, for that.
You're welcome. Any discussion?
Yes, we had it.
Okay. Call the question. All those in favor?
This just on the amendment.
On the amendment, yes. Opposed? Motion is defeated.
Thank you.
And thank you. Back to the original on the recommendation. All those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That was predictable. That was predictable.
But
We had a good,
I'm glad you weren't surprised.
we had a really good discussion.
Yeah, you did. I want to thank you. Like, you have no idea. Like, I was really nervous about coming here. I wouldn't be here Joe wasn't here, because bringing forward an event, you know, because this was Joe's day. But bringing forward something like that, I can tell you, and Joe is this. In past commissions, the commissioners would leave the room and leave me sitting there all by myself. And they deliberated on stuff. That's not the way you do business. And it wouldn't have had a seconder. So thank you for seconding it for discussion purposes. Thank you very much. I was very respectful.
Again, the commission is working on business.
Yep.
And I appreciate it. I appreciate, Commissioner Heaton for seconding the motion because I think it's only appropriate.
Yes.
Okay, we will move on now to old business.
there, Patrick.
We're almost there.
But I think
You can have another piece of cake. He says, how do I get in this commission?
I'm
all
okay.
right, point last Castlegar Cricket, and I'm not sure who's speaking to this.
I can speak to it.
Okay,
through the
thank you.
chair. So, Jenna and I had been spending a couple of weeks trying to get back in touch with the cricket people. And actually just as of yesterday, they emailed us, and for some reason our emails were not getting to them. So we did connect with them and actually are in the process of organizing meet up with cricket, and actually also reaching out to disc golf to try to have the same kind of site meeting with Carrie Gaynor, and I can't remember who else we were thinking of would come to that, but that is in the works. So that's the only update, but we did make contact.
Great, thank you very much. Commissioner
And
Hander.
I just want to say that and I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I really strongly support increasing the usage at Pass Creek Park. It's a great spot. There's so much room. There's so much room for low cost outdoor activity. So the interest shown by both the cricket people and the disc golf people is, I'm really encouraged by that. And I think it bodes well for all of us.
Thank you very much. And so does that include 8.2 as well, or should we do it separately?
There's a motion for it. It's just not on our agenda, but there is.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't have.
Oh, there isn't yet.
Oh, you just have that.
No,
Okay, never mind.
no.
No.
Never
So
mind.
is that, yeah. So then you'll meet with them and bring back information for us? Is that what you were thinking? Sorry.
Did we,
sorry,
yeah,
Commissioner McFadden, sorry.
they presented to us last time,
Yes.
but did we formally give a motion for support of proceeding with the project? Do you remember? Like, did we formally, because I know we normally don't when a delegation comes, and I think we moved into this meeting to have that conversation so that they can go to have a formal motion of, are we supportive of their moving forward with planning for Pass Creek Park?
Through the chair, I think it was for their funding application to
Yeah.
CBT.
Yes, which essentially says we're supportive of them using Pass Creek Park. Right.
I'm sorry, through the chair, I think what we talked to them about is that we couldn't give them an answer about whether Pass Creek Park would be appropriate at that time. I would hesitate putting Pass Creek Park in that because that makes it sound like if staff go and discover like, hey, this is actually going to be the impact, we have a recommendation now that's might not be the right direction.
So,
Do we need direction to staff on this, or what? That possibility of accommodating disc golf at Pass Creek Park be explored and put it back on or something like that?
No, through the chair, that part has already happened.
That's already happened.
Yeah, it's just what there was, if I remember correctly, they had a CBT application. They needed, and they needed to, they wanted commission support in order to say to CBT, yes, we are actively still looking, and the commission is supportive of.
I have the minutes here
Yeah.
from I just pulled them up. And target completion June 2026. Anyways, the request was commission to consider to provide them a letter of support the February 3rd, 2026 meeting and staff to discuss how we could put this into their work plan.
Yes.
So,
So I will make a motion that we support staff exploring Pass Creek Park, unless you want to make the motion, because I know but
It's in my book.
yeah, but we're exploring Pass Creek Park for disc golf.
But I thought they needed a letter.
Letter.
And a letter of support from the RDCK.
Yeah,
Sure, could I?
That's what they were.
yes, sorry.
So the Ready Grant application deadline is coming up is February 20th. I think CBT has its requirements as to what they need to fund something. And I know right now I have some questions because we have some, staff have denied, have pulled certain applications and I had comments come in about that. So does this meet, like with this, it's not like, we're not at the point where we can say it's a goal. Does CBT need that it's a goal, or the CBT need just a letter of support, that's exploring, and then the funding will be conditional upon it being approved?
Yeah.
Is that
We should have had that at this meeting though, according to the minutes.
so maybe the CEO.
Yeah, like, through the chair, CBT, I don't think they need a letter of support. They just need acknowledgement from the local government that we're okay with our asset being used. That's it.
So would these minutes do that for them?
Well, if you recall the board meeting last week in January, you passed a motion supporting the Creston Valley Library application. So that's our building. And I just sent an email to the CBT on the contact and said, the board supports it. Do you need a formal resolution? They said, no, they just needed the email from me. I was confident.
So there's nothing we have to pass here.
So if you pass the motion supporting it, then that's enough for me to send to CBT to say it's supported.
Yes, follow up. That was I've been in contact with CBT because their application was last year with the city and I gave them approval to say, yeah, because the money isn't for the money is for exploring the project, planning the project and doing the project. So because the scope is big enough, really all they need is saying, yes, we support them going ahead. So if we make that motion here, I don't think it needs to be a formal letter. I think it's literally just saying, yes, the RDCK is in support of them using that space, but if they need it, we can add it to the motion. There's a lot of nuance.
I think he is.
Yeah, we can follow up with that. There is some nuance to things of
Through chat.
certain projects are being denied and it has to do with other things.
Okay, so what are we doing?
So we need a motion which I just made, and I think,
I seconded it.
Right.
I'm convinced.
great.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Oh, I'm not the chair.
No, I was just gonna say the same thing. I'm gonna call it.
Apparently it's like,
We had a healthy. All those in favor?
Patrick,
Thank you.
are you confused?
No, I'm not. I'm just relieved because
We're with you. Wait, so I knew, but yeah, sorry. We got it.
Okay.
All right,
Questions?
thank you all. I'm gonna call now for questions. We have one person in the room and I see we have people online. If anyone has any questions online, please use the raise hand function and I will do my best to answer your question. Seeing anything online, Jenna? I'm not seeing anything online. Yes, sir.
We have
Please stand and,
stand.
just for the record.
Introduce yourself.
Patrick, Kidney Rockies Disc Golf Society, thank you for making that motion. It makes my job easier now when I'm applying for a Ready Grant to know that at least it's approved in principle. And then if something happens, then the money can just be returned to the rate. Thank you.
Perfect.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for hanging in.
Hopefully this one goes ahead, eh?
We'll get there.
What is this? Was it iteration number 4 or 5, I think?
Okay, the next Castlegar District Recreation Commission meeting is scheduled for March 3rd, 2026, 4 p.m. in this very room. And I will now call for adjournment.
Can I?
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to make sure it was right. March 3rd is our city budget meeting.
Oh, shoot. That wasn't in the
Yeah, that got booked because
calendar.
of,
Jenna and I discussed it, so.
Yeah. so
Well,
March
that's better than somebody else said it.
3rd and March 5th are both budget meetings. So I don't know, want to push it to the 10th, but
I'm fine with the tenth.
Commissioner David, oh, you're looking at a calendar.
Yeah, I got you.
Laughs walking out the door.
So again, this is fourth, fifth don't work.
I do.
10th, I've got a 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
See you. Okay.
This is just stuff that's booked a year in advance.
Yeah,
So,
Oh, fifth can work.
wait, it doesn't. For
Oh, it doesn't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
it doesn't
what
work.
about February?
11th and 12th work.
About the fourth?
Fourth is, we've got our good Columbia Teachers Union.
Yeah, that's your regular first of the month Wednesday, right?
Yeah, first of the month,
Ninth.
Wednesday forever.
Monday of the night.
So how does the 9th work for you?
Actually, it,
Yours open.
no, school district 20 budget meeting.
We've got too many jobs in.
Well, what happens is that, yeah, they're, like, it's really interesting syncing everything, right?
Yeah.
What's for your
What's,
budget?
on that week, the tenth,
Five.
what's it like?
11th is good, 12th is good, 13th, my wife's birthday, not happening.
Not doing it Friday.
No, but 11th and 12th are, I mean,
How about the 11th? How does that fit for everybody?
I won't be here, but there's enough if you still have quorum and I'm fine if you guys do it.
I'll be remote.
It's not a big deal.
11th.
I'll be the brown one.
I don't know.
Oh, you might,
Yes. My surgery, you guys, so I don't know, right? So I don't,
But it's earlier on the third.
On the 3rd earlier, I could make it work, absolutely. If you want to do it like, what time's the city meeting?
five to.
If we did it at 3, it'd be fine.
But we'd have to be out of here by 4:30. Like I need to be
Yeah.
here early, so.
Can do it in two.
Two?
It can work. I can make sure.
Yeah.
does that work for
There's
the
the
staff?
Ryanville Commission meeting that night.
Yeah, but we could do it at
You don't care.
on
Yeah, sorry, that's
you have a meeting, but we can adjust.
March 3rd at 2? Is that the plan here?
March 3rd at 2 o'clock. If
That's
that's
all just a skit so Joe could not care about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, this is the best gift.
couldn't ask for anything.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm putting it in.
that works.
At 2 o'clock.
March 3rd, 2 o'clock, I can make that work. Okay.
So tonight, great. It'll be 4 o'clock my time.
Yeah, where you gonna be? Oh, you got it. Down.
She's gone again.
Not telling us for, but it's only a 2-hour time. If it's not a 3.
Okay. So is there some way on the website we can put that date or that time change just for the public?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll make sure I note it.
All right.
I think it'd keep us on time.
And we had Yev online the whole time then.
Yes,
About that.
Dennis Leader, Joe was the man.
It was bad.
Call for adjournment.
We've got.
Adjournment.